105 Estereomex, Una mujer como tú. Y también le presentamos lo más reciente de banda lagunera, Amor Cruel, éxito número 7 ya de esta semana, a través de 105 Estereomex. Son las 12 del mediodía con 34 minutos, la temperatura mínima por los 63 grados. Y mañana domingo...
Come on, Jessie. Come on, boy. Come on, Jessie.
Máxima nuevamente alrededor de los...
Come on, baby. Let's go. Alex, say hi to the camera.
Hi.
Wait for Grandpa over here. Jessie. 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 Okay. Jessie. We're here, baby. Say hi. Come here.
Which way are we going?
Hey, Poopa!
It's a trolley truck.
Bye, Poopa! Bye, Poopa!
Goodbye, trolley truck.
Bye, truck. Truck. Bye, truck. Look, why?
Hi, Alex and Jessie. What are you guys going to do today? Why are you guys here? You guys going to get in the boat? Jessie, you're going to go in the boat? Okay, say hi to everybody. Say hi, Mommy. Hi, Carmen. Hi, Daddy.
I think they got their hands full just printing enough papers for the Chicago area because Metropolitan Chicago is like 7 million.
Eh?
Please have your tickets ready as you prepare to board the luxurious Skyline Princess.
Come on, honey. Yeah.
Oh, there, young lady.
Want to check and see if there's any more seats in there? Want to sit over here, honey?
Yeah.
Hey, there's a buccaneer.
No. Look, around here is this a speedboat?
Está muy cerca.
It's Corey. I'm the first mate on board the Princess, and I'm also the tour guide. And we'll be taking you today on an hour-and-a-half cruise along Chicago's waterways, the Chicago River and Lake Michigan. And we begin our tour at the same exact place the city of Chicago began. If you look to your right, just above those, just above the Mercury dock, at the top of those stairs there, is the historic site of Fort Dearborn. And it was built in 1803 to protect the many settlers that were moving west at that time. In 1812, however, it was burned to the ground by Indians who were allied with the British. 39 men, 2 women, and 12 children were killed in the Fort Dearborn massacre as they attempted to flee to Fort Wayne, Indiana. And in 1816, the second fort was built and the frontier town began to grow. Chicago takes its name from the Potawatomi Indians that were in this area, and they were calling this body of water the Chicago. It means wild onion or sticky onion, and it was named for the wild onions which were growing along the banks of the river. And the city is actually named after the Chicago River. If you look up into your right now, you'll see the Chicago Sun-Times building, one of 2 major newspapers here in Chicago. The 2-story presses at river level can be viewed in operation by means of a promenade deck running through the center of the building. It's home of columnist Irv Kupcinet. And beyond that, that tall black building is the 55-story IBM building. It was the last building designed by famous and influential architect Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. If you look to your left now, you'll see a tower in one of these corners. That's the Jewelers building. It was originally the offices of Jewelers. It's also rumored that in the 1920s Prohibition era, the top of that center tower was a story towers of Marina City. 19 stories of parking, 876 apartments and condominiums. If you look beneath the building, you'll see several boats down here, and there's storage for more than 200 small boats at the Marina City Marina. The building was designed by Bertrand Goldberg. I'll tell you a little more about Goldberg and his architecture later on in the cruise. But if you look to your left now, you'll see a gray granite high-rise there. That's the Leo Burnett building at 35 West Wacker Drive, home of the Burnett Advertising Agency. And you might know them by some of their creations. They created Tony the Tiger, the Pillsbury Doughboy, and Snap, Crackle, and Pop, the Little Rice Krispie fellas, all created right there by Leo Burnett Advertising. And next on our right is the Hotel Nico, there with the red awnings at the base. It's the first Japanese-owned hotel here in Chicago, and it shares its plaza with the blue-green glassed Quaker Oats Tower. Look inside the lobby of Quaker Oats Tower, you'll see the world's largest box of Quaker Oats oatmeal, and the Quaker himself staring out at us. And on our left, you'll see a white high-rise, very tall white high-rise, with reflective windows. That's the R.R. Donnelly building at 77 West Wacker, home of the Donnelly Publishing Company, and they're the oldest corporation here in Chicago, dating back to 1872. If you look on our right now, you'll see a red brick building with a clock tower, and that is the City of Chicago Central Office Building. It's better known to most Chicagoans as traffic court. That's where the lady that just got on the boat last would have ended up if she got a traffic citation for being illegally parked. And anyway, we'll wish you luck if you do get a traffic citation, because they take in over $30 million in fines per year. Up ahead of us on the right is a building with blue-green glass windows. That's the new offices of Helene Curtis Cosmetics. Now, the top executives at Helene Curtis, as a part of their contract, have to work out at least 3 times a week in a health club. Just to keep their jobs. Kind of interesting. Up ahead of us is the Wells Street Bridge. It's a 2-level bridge. Upper level is used by the Chicago Transit Authority's elevated train system, commonly called the L. And coming into view on our right now is the Merchandise Mart. Truly a city within a city with more than 4 million square feet of floor space. It's second in size only to the Pentagon. Has its own police, fire department, medical facilities, and post office. Handles enough mail to be assigned its own zip code. They employ more than 30,000 people. It was built by Marshall Field. Great idea, bad timing. He built this just prior to the Great Depression in this country for $28 million. And really took a bath on the building when he sold it to Joseph Kennedy in 1944 for $13 million. Just about half of its worth. The Kennedys did real well with that building. In fact, they built this next building on our right, the Apparel Center, to work in conjunction with the Merchandise Mart. Notice there are no windows on the center floors. This was done to help protect the fabrics here from the harmful rays of the sun. This building, along with the Merchandise Mart, are to this day the Kennedys' main source of income. And if you look to your left now, you'll see a very striking building there with reflective qualities. That's 333 West Wacker, designed to complement the Chicago River, both by the curved face, which follows the bend of the river, and the green tinted glass, which reflects the color of the river. William Patterson won the National Architect's Honor Award for this 36-story high-rise. And we're now at the fourth or junction of the Chicago River. We've been on the main branch. Off to the right of us here is the north branch. And ahead of us, we will be traveling down the south branch of the river. Now, if we had enough food and water on board to last all of us on here for about 3 weeks, we could just keep on going, and we'd end up going through what's called the Chicago Sanitary and Ship Canal, which links the Chicago River with the Des Plaines River. So this canal, along with its predecessor, the smaller Illinois-Michigan Canal, were instrumental in Chicago's growth as the industrial trade capital of the Midwest and transportation center of the United States. In fact, the city of Chicago is only here because the Chicago River is here. And next on our right, that gray granite glass and steel high-rise is the Morton International Building. At the top of Morton Salt's new headquarters is the world's tallest clock tower. It's kind of hard to see from here, though. I'll point it out again later when we turn around. Up ahead of us, beyond that bridge that's raised, on the right-hand side of the river, that large gray stone building is the Riverside Plaza Building. It was the first building in Chicago built over a provide a pedestrian plaza overlooking the river. And if you look to your left now, you'll see the Civic Opera House or Armchair Building. Now, the financier of this project was Sam Insel, a local utilities tycoon whose daughter was an opera singer. She did real well here in Chicago before moving on to the larger operas in New York, where her career promptly ended. Sam Insel never forgave New York for this, had the building designed like a giant armchair facing west, so he could turn his back on New York City, which is not always the wisest thing you can do. Sam Mitchell incidentally lost all of his money later in the Great Depression. He went broke. That's what he gets for turning his back on New York. Next on our left is the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Although Chicago is no longer Carl Sandburg's hog butcher for the world, hogs are still traded here, along with live cattle, pork bellies, lumber, and financial items on the world's largest trading floor. Notice how there's two separate towers in this building and a span in between. The interesting thing is that when the trading floors are empty, those spans stick out. They go away from the building a little bit. And when the trading floor is full, they come back together to complete all the people on that floor. And the building was designed like that. It has the largest unsupported roof in the world. Or roof, depending on how you say it. Roof. Anyway, up ahead of us on the left, you'll see a white high-rise beyond the next bridge there. That's 200 South Wacker. It was designed by Harry Weiss. Now, Harry Weiss was an avid sailor as well as an excellent architect. He loved sailing in his free time, and he loved the shape of sails, which are generally shaped like triangles. This building has a couple examples of his triangular form. Look at the base of that building, the lobby. You can see there's a triangular form there. The real beauty of this building is up at the top, though. You can't see it from here, but I'll point it out when we can. But look between these two buildings on our left, you'll get the closest view we get of the Sears Tower. There it is. Sheathed in black aluminum and bronze tinted glass. It rises up 1,454 feet, 433 meters, 110 stories. We'll get a better view of the Sears Tower down south here when we spin around and head back towards the lake, and a real nice view from out on Lake Michigan as well. And just coming into view up ahead of us on the right, that building with green tinted glass and the curved base is Gateway Center number 4. An excellent example of railroad air rights construction. Look beneath the building here, you'll see several rail cars parked under there. The interesting thing is that the railroads were here first and the buildings were built later as a result of the Railroad Air Rights Construction Act of 1924, which created almost mythical real estate in the air. By this act, the railroad can own the land and sell the air above for the construction of buildings on columns or stilts, which will not interfere with the rail traffic below. This efficient use of space was pioneered right here in Chicago and allows for the further development of the business district, which was completely surrounded by railroad tracks. And this massive gray stone building on our right was the main branch of the Chicago Post Office. It was the largest post office in the world, both by the size of the building and by the volume of mail. It's been closed down, though. It was deemed inefficient to handle the great amounts of mail passing through here. They just built a new post office farther down the river. And as we spin around, we get perhaps the best view of the Sears Tower, the southern exposure. Many Chicagoans agree is the finest look at this building. It's a great photo opportunity, too. Just to the right of that, there's a rose-colored building, and that is a red granite high-rise, 311 South Wacker. The world's tallest reinforced concrete building is nicknamed the Winter Garden. You see, there's a glass-roofed atrium at the base of that building, which they attempted to grow palm trees in. These palm trees were having trouble taking root because of the cold weather here in Chicago, so they simply injected these palm trees with embalming fluid, preserving them for an undetermined amount of time and nicknaming the building the Winter Garden. Now I'll point that 200 South Wacker out to you again. It's the white high-rise there on the right. Look to the top of that building. You'll see how the architect has extended one of the two bright triangles about 8 stories higher than the other, just to show off the fact that that is 2 right triangles joined at the hypotenuse. Bridges that we're passing today are functional drawbridges of the bascule trunnion style. Bascule is a French word. It means seesaw or teeter-totter. These bridges are counterweighted and balanced like a seesaw, so it takes only a small amount of power for them to be raised and lowered. They're so finely balanced, in fact, that they can be raised and lowered in just 2 minutes with an engine as small as that of a VW Bug. Chicago has 52 drawbridges. That's more than any other city in North America. And Chicago has more movable bridges than any other city in the world. And I'll tell you a little bit about the boat you're on today, the Skyline Princess. She's 65 feet long, 17 feet in the beam, or 17 feet wide, carries up to 110 passengers. Of an all-steel hull and deck construction, she's powered by two 671 Detroit diesel engines. This documented vessel is licensed and inspected annually by the United States Coast Guard. We carry a crew of two, one licensed master, Captain Rob, and one deckhand, myself. Once again, my name is Corey. If you have any questions throughout the cruise, Rob and I are both fairly well schooled in Chicago's architecture, as well as the history here in Chicago, and we'll do our best to answer any questions you might have for us. If you look up ahead of us, you get a great view of that clock tower at the top of Morton International there. That is the world's tallest clock tower. And it actually pays homage to the clock tower on the building to the left of it, that red brick building. The clock tower is the River Center, a 1930s skyscraper. It was a warehouse, now it's offices. And clock towers during that time period were extremely important to any city. Even small towns usually had clock towers strategically located somewhere in the business district. And that's because wristwatches had not yet been developed, and pocket watches were just not affordable by everyone. They were more of a luxury than a necessity, as a matter of fact, because they were usually made out of gold or silver, and they were pretty expensive. So they had clock towers strategically located around business districts, possibly to do away with that age-old excuse for being late. I didn't know what time it was, and I still have tried to use that excuse myself. Probably less effective now than it was in the 30s. Envision Chicago, especially right here where we're at on the river level, as a Paris on to be about 60 degrees Fahrenheit today, and it'd be a little bit of a rude awakening. So not too many people have ever swam in this river. And the Chicago River is also now capable of supporting over 20.
It's open, honey.
There's the Centennial Fountain water cannon blasting its firing its blast of water across the river. It does this for the first 10 minutes of every hour on the hour.
See it?
The capacity of filtering 2 million gallons of water each day. In addition to shore intakes, there are several offshore intakes. If you look out to your right, on the horizon, you'll see a couple little buildings out in the middle of Lake Michigan. And that's the Carter Harrison intake crypt. Water is taken in 11. They put on a colored light and water display show showing the names for each 130.